just did you guys a huge solid. I just found 10 amazing, boring, but cash flowing businesses that are all under $100,000 for a purchase price. And guess what? I did the homework. There are literally 1,311 possible businesses that are actually for sale right now, and I picked the best 10. And what was my criteria? Cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. So I take this list of 10 banger business acquisition ideas and I rank them from lowest cash flow margins all the way to the highest. And guess what? Every single one of these are for sale. So let's dive right in. We got no time to waste and let's figure out what's the best business under $100,000 that we can buy today. Let's rock. So before we dive into these businesses, let's just set the tone for the why. You need to understand why it is so important to where if you're looking to invest, build financial freedom, as well as generate significant generational wealth, buying a business is a no-brainer. And who the heck am I? I'm Kenny Finance. I'm the private equity baby that came out of the womb buying nothing but cash flowing businesses. No, but I spent the last 10 plus years working at the best private equity firms in the entire world, Blackstone and KKR. We're focused on nothing but finding great businesses, buying incredible businesses, and growing and scaling them to have great exits. That's literally all I do. It's in my DNA. I live and breathe this shit. So I'm taking literally everything that I learned from Wall Street and I'm giving it to Main Street so that you, everyday people, can go buy incredible small Main Street businesses that also generate significant cash flow for you and your families. So why do I want you to think about buying a business? Well, number one, it allows you to generate passive income. Number two, it is easier to buy $1,000 of revenue instead of trying to start one via a startup. And then number three, it buys you time autonomy, meaning that once you buy a business, you can be the CEO, you can be the boss on day one, pick your own schedule. Figure out what the heck you want to do. Influence the product or service that you guys want to offer. It is truly the best way to unlock both economic and time freedom. But now let's keep it a buck. What is the realities of buying a business that is under $100,000? I'll tell you right now, I specialize in businesses that are doing 1 million plus of annual cash flow, and those purchase prices are between $5 to $10 million. So me coming down into this swim lane of $100,000, right off the bat, there's gonna be a lot of red flags. Well, number one, most of these businesses are owner dependent. So if you're looking to buy a company, sit back, chill in Florida, and not do anything, this is not the video for you. Instead, these are businesses to where typically these are 1 to 2 to 3 person shops that require heavy reliance on the owner. So if you're open to that, stick in. But then also, there might be some operational headaches. Usually, businesses might trade this low in a purchase price because there are just things that force the owner to have to sell. Whether there's operational burdens, whether there's just energy and capacity and bandwidth burdens, meaning that the business is too much to handle for this particular owner. And sometimes that just forces the selling price to drop down lower and cheaper because not everyone wants to buy that kind of a headache. But if you're young and you're ambitious and you're resourceful, you leverage AI, you can tackle some of those things. So without further ado, let's jump into the list and start off with number 10, child enrichment programs. All right, so I found an incredible listing. This one is in North Carolina, and they're a children's art studio and camp. Now, off the bat, this business is selling for $75,000 and generates around 27% margins. So what is a margin? I will set this definition for this first one so you guys understand it for the rest of the video, but a margin is essentially what is the overall cash flow generating profile of this business. Some folks like to use EBITDA, some folks like to use seller discretionary earnings, some like to use net profit, but for this, we're just gonna take the cash flow profile in the business listing. We're going to divide that by your revenue. So cash flow divided by revenue will get you what the cash flow margin is of that business. And if the business here is generating around $54,000 of cash flow and revenue around $200,000, that gets a 27% annual cash flow margin. That is really good, by the way. Now, the other big thing is what is the multiple, or AKA the purchase price multiple that they're asking? Meaning, what is the price of the business being listed for divided by that annual cash flow for us to see how many times our cash flow are we paying for this business. So I would take that $75,000 of an asking price, and then I would divide that by the $54,000 of the annual cash flow, and that will give me a 1.4 times multiple. So with that multiple, what I like about it is that all businesses trade at a multiple, meaning every time a business is sold, it is sold at a specific multiple. And usually some of that data is actually available. So you can see what kind of business and what kind of geography in a specific industry at a specific size, what did they trade for? So I like to call this comps. And I like to look at other child care center or child enrichment programs that have sold in the area or in the region over the last 3 years. Now, the beautiful thing is, typically small business acquisitions trade between like a 3 to 6 times multiple. That's for businesses that are doing $500,000, $300,000 plus of annual cash flow. When you're a very, very, very small business, like selling for under $100,000 purchase price, you can get a steal on these purchases because they're so low, people just don't want that operational headache of running those kind of businesses. So as you can see, this one is trading at a 1.4 times multiple, which is literally a steal. Meaning if you bought this business today, literally in 2 years, your purchase price will be recouped just from the annual cash flow of the business. And don't even get me started if you grow the company, if you expand into new territories, if you add more sales reps, all types of things. So now you're starting to get the picture of like the beauty of what you could build with owning this kind of business. So that's your smart money lesson of the day. So let's talk about this child enrichment program. I have a thesis that millennials are starting to become parents that understand the concerns of iPad babies, meaning that they don't want to have their kids be the ones that are sitting on iPads all day or that are on technology all day. They want to get their kids outside, they want to get their kids social, and they want to get their kids enriched academically and socially. And what's the best way to do that? If you're a busy parent or if you don't have all the available resources or parks nearby, you put them in child enrichment programs. Camps, summer camps, activities after school, those kind of things. So I think there is clear demand and tailwinds for this kind of service, as well as AI is not going to disrupt this, okay? So I like this kind of business. But let's move on to number 2. Auto repair shops. And for this one, we're going all the way to Maryland. And this is an established auto repair shop for sale that's based in Temple Hills, Maryland. They're going for $89,000 for an asking price with 34% margins, meaning they're doing $120,000 of cash flow a year. By the way, that can pay yourself a really nice salary if you own this business. And they're only selling for a 0.7 times multiple, sub 1 times. Now, if they're selling for under 1 times, we really got to ask some questions here. Like, there could be a situation where it's literally one person in the shop, or there's going to be a lot of capital expenditures or CapEx needs for this business to have new jacks, to have new equipment, or they need to hire new workers, or maybe they're losing a lot of clients. Like, we need to figure out why they're selling at a distressed price at 0.7 times multiple. And it's very easy. You call the banker or you call the owner, you ask these things before you buy it. But you just might strike luck, and they just might not be aware of the growth potential of their business, and they're just trying to get out immediately, so they put any price that is going to sell. So check that out. Now moving on to the next one, pool cleaning. And I hope this listing is in someplace warm, because that is crazy recurring demand. Oh, and we got lucky. This one is in Florida, baby. All right, so this one is called An Awesome Opportunity Pool Cleaning Business in Florida, selling for $95,000, has around $60,000 of annual cash flow. It's small, but if you're just a one-person shop trying to buy businesses, that's okay. And this business does 38% margins, and they're selling for a 1.6 times multiple. Now, this one is pretty cool. It's one of my favorite out of this list of top 10. And I actually dedicated last week's newsletter deep dive, where I did a complete deal review where I outlined what I liked and what I disliked and key management questions for this particular listing. And if you're interested in that, feel free to hit that link down below, where I do a weekly deep dive into different business acquisition opportunities, just to give you guys a little bit of insight into like the head of a pro for buying a business. But this was one of the coolest deep dives that I've done all year, pretty much. And the pool cleaning thesis is really cool because, number one, if you're in a warm place like Texas, Florida, California, Arizona, you're just going to have pools, right? That's the way how you just cool down in the summertime or in hot seasons. And you're going to need to get those things maintained, repaired, and cleaned very regularly. So you have very sticky recurring revenue if you can break into a really good customer base. But then also there's an operating leverage by having potentially cheap labor, right? You don't need to have a degree to go clean a pool. Right? So you can go recruit at different schools or universities and say, hey, who's looking for a part-time job? Who's looking for a summer internship? Who's looking for a summer gig? And just give folks the equipment, give them the playbook, and give them the sort of rules of how to run the business, and have them go out and clean those pools. So therefore, you have a recurring revenue base. You can expand and get new territories and go door to door, and you have cheap labor and therefore improving margins. So that's why I really, really, really like this business. And at a 1.6 times multiple, that's not that bad. So you buy this one, stack up cash flow for 2 or 3 years, and buy another one, and next thing you know it, you have yourself a regional pool cleaning empire. All right, I'm not gonna give you too many of those crazy holdco business buying M&A secrets yet, but that's just another genius strategy that folks like the private equity folks do all day, every day. All right, moving on. Pet grooming. And for this one, we're going to South Carolina. Woo! Not only do they have great pet grooming businesses, they have amazing food, by the way, in South Carolina. So for this listing, they are located in Berkeley County, and they're selling for $85,000 also, and generating $55,000 of cash flow on $120,000 of revenue at 45% margins, which is massive, dude. That's attractive. And the multiple, they're asking around a 1.5 times multiple. I think we're kind of seeing a trend that like a lot of these sub $100,000 businesses, most of them are trading between 1 to 1.5 times multiples, which seems pretty fair so far. But this one is really cool because look, folks just have pets everywhere now. I think like we're seeing too many pets in the world. And what pets need? They need maintenance, they need grooming, they need everything they need to be clean and looking and smelling good in the household. And I love it also because just like salons and haircuts for men and women, dogs need to have this stuff regularly every month as well. So you have a recurring revenue if you can have a sticky, loyal customer base and the growing trends of pet ownership. But then also it doesn't cost that much to run a pet grooming business. Have a few interns or college or high school folks that want to work part-time, give them the equipment and have them taking care of all the grooming needs of your different clients. So at 1.5 times multiple, I will buy that up ASAP. And then what I would do is I would have my soulmate buddy finance, that is right, this absolute menace right here. I would take him to finally get his nails clipped and get a haircut and get him a little shampoo action. And then we're going to move on to buy some more businesses. Love you, buddy. All right, now we're about to talk about another one, which is a private equity special, baby. We're talking HVAC. So if you haven't heard by now, one of the greatest sectors for private equity to acquire and do roll-ups is in a little thing called HVAC. That is right, looking at the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning of homes and buildings. They're everywhere, they're necessary, they break down, they need replacements, they need new pieces. HVAC maintenance, repair, and installation was here yesterday, here today, and will be there for the rest of our lives. So what do? We buy an HVAC business. So this one's really cool. This business is also in Florida, which makes sense because if you're in Florida, you're running your AC all the time because it's hot. And guess what? When you're running it all the time, stuff breaks down. And this one does HVAC and refrigeration repair, meaning they fix refrigerators, and they're selling for $99,000 for a purchase price, has around cash flow of $97,000 off of a revenue base of around $200,000. We're almost at a 50% profit margin. That's nuts. And they're selling for a 1 times multiple. Now, why are they selling at 1 times multiple? Likely this is a one-person operation, and it also probably requires a license. So this is another big thing and a big lesson is that when you're looking to buy a business, you need to figure out, does it require a license to operate? Meaning, do you have one already pre-existing, or does someone on the team have a license that wants to step up and be the next owner of the business alongside you, or do you need to go to trade school and get the license and then buy the business? That can also be a headache, but I am probably 95% sure that this is a 1 or 2 person thing, but then number 2 also requires you to have the license. And another cool stat that a lot of folks don't really know about is the installed base of HVAC equipment, meaning that today's air conditioning and heating units, they're starting to reach the end of their useful life. So we're going to see a mega trend of a lot of homes and commercial buildings needing to have their old antiquated HVAC pieces of equipment repaired or replaced. And guess who needs to do that? HVAC technicians. Who does that? Businesses like this that are selling at a 1 times multiple, and that does $97,000 of cash flow a year. You get the gist? Good. Now moving on. Power equipment servicing. All right, so this power equipment service business, so this is all the way in Massachusetts and has almost an identical financial profile as the HVAC one. Selling for around $100,000, does about $200,000 of revenue a year and $100,000 of cash flow. Around 50% margins, and this one is also selling at a 1 times multiple. And so this is cool. Like, this is just an example of when you're buying a business, no one's forcing you to buy a particular company. Like, if you have the capital and the resources, you have the autonomy to pick whatever the heck it is you want to invest and acquire. So if I see 2 businesses, right, an HVAC company on one side and then a power equipment servicing business on another side that had almost the exact same financial profile and multiple, I get to pick which one do I want to do. Now, the power equipment business, they're focused on helping businesses that have power equipment, helping them do servicing and replacements and maintenance on those pieces of specialized equipment. That is a very specialized skill set. And this is also a 1-person shop. But the key thing you want to consider in this kind of business is that, yeah, it has great cash flow characteristics, but I want you to understand is what is going to disrupt this kind of business and what could go potentially wrong with this company. And one big red flag that could potentially go wrong is that the OEMs, or the folks that manufacture those pieces of equipment, want to start doing the servicing in-house or themselves. Or they want to push out new different pieces of equipment that doesn't need as much repair and maintenance like it historically used to. So if I'm comparing this power equipment servicing business to an HVAC company that has a large installed base of potentially new clients, and I can easily increase my revenue just by adding more HVAC technicians, I'm probably going to go with the HVAC business, right? So I like the cash flow characteristics. I like the growth tailwinds, as well as the runway to operationally scale this business by reinvesting and The other big thing, I also like the potential to acquire more HVAC businesses to build a regional brand, just like we did with the pool business. Now we're starting to think more of a Warren Buffett mogul style type, right? But I like businesses that have clear, defensible moats, a quality product or service, and the ability to generate strong returns on equity. And that's what the HVAC business would do. Not to throw shade at this power equipment servicing business, this is still pretty rock solid at a really attractive multiple. And if you specialize in something like this, get after it. But I just really like that HVAC business. But now let's get a little shifty. Let's talk sports leagues. That's right, I found a Los Angeles volleyball sports league that is for sale. That's pretty crazy. Literally, I live here in Laguna Beach, and I see folks on the beach playing volleyball all the time, and I didn't know that I could apply my private equity playbook to it. Now I know. So for this one, in Southern California, selling for $90,000, generates around $65,000 of cash flow a year, as well as $124,000 of revenue. So it has a 53% cash flow margin. 50% plus. We are winning, baby. And it's selling for a 1.4 times multiple. Now, this makes sense because there's no building, there's no equipment that's like heavy machinery to actually needed to run a volleyball league. All you kind of need is permits from the city to have sort of like your league games and practices, and then sort of like a staff member or a security member just to keep things float and running, and then marketing to sort of have folks sign up and join your leagues. And then they join, make friends, and there you go. You have a cash flowing business. And with 50% plus margins, this is really attractive. And the tailwinds here is that there are so many millennials that are moving into these big cities, and folks are lonely. Folks want to make friends. Folks want to find a potential mate or partner in person. And how are they doing that? They're joining run clubs, they're joining these sports leagues, and it is the best way to monetize community. So I really like this one. For Diligence, I'm probably going to join it first to see if it's actually a nice cash flowing, well-run sports league. But if it is, and if I do well and I dominate the league, I might think about buying this one. All right, moving on. But before we jump to the next one, I just want you guys to be aware of something. I just gave you guys almost $700,000 plus of enterprise value, aka free game, with what I just gave in terms of amazing cash flowing businesses that you can acquire. Now, the best thing you can do is make the greatest investment in yourself, and that's by hitting that subscribe button and joining this smart money community where we do nothing but think about buying businesses, building wealth, and making smart money plays. I'm telling you, this is an amazing community, and my DMs go absolutely crazy every single day of smart, ambitious people looking to buy businesses all the time. So join this fold and start getting active with buying yourself a business. All right, concrete repair. So for this business, they are located in Pennsylvania, and they do concrete repair and waterproofing. It just doesn't get more boring than this, right? This business goes around and repairs concrete sidewalks as well as streets and roads and does waterproofing of it just to protect it from rain damage. That's boring. But guess what? It prints cash flow. How much? This business is printing $86,000 of cash flow a year off of $140,000 revenue. So it's doing 61% margins. We are in the 60% margins, people. Now, the smart money play, if I own this business, you can use that $86,000 of cash flow and you can pay yourself if needed. But more importantly, you can invest in marketing. You can also hire more technicians. That's the most important thing. Hire more service professionals that can go out and increase your coverage to cover more neighborhoods, more governments, more municipalities so that you can double, triple, quadruple your revenue base, because the demand is very much there. And if you can invest in increasing the size of your team, both on the sales side as well as the service professional side that actually go out and do the jobs, you will build yourself a very, very, very loyal and large customer base and regional presence. Next thing you know it, you're spitting out $500,000 to $1 million of cash flow, and you can buy more businesses, you can invest in more teams, and next thing you know, this thing expands like a mushroom. That's a really good play. So moving on from there, let's take our butts back to Florida and check out an awesome pressure washing business. So this is probably the most profitable pressure washing business I have ever seen in my entire life. This business, which is selling for $95,000 purchase price, by the way, is doing 63% margins. 63% margins, ladies and gentlemen. Like every single year, this business is doing $80,000 of cash flow, just pressure washing. And how much do these pressure washing pieces of equipment cost? Less than like $1,000 for like institutional ones. And also, by the way, if you want to start one, you can go to Home Depot and rent one for like $15 an hour. But this business right here has crushed it, has multiple team members, and is doing $80,000 per year. And they're selling for a 1.2 times multiple. That's not that bad. But pressure washing is a genius business model. You take something that is dirty and you make it clean. That is your value proposition. And how do you get more customers? By showcasing your value proposition. So you get some high school or college social media gurus to do content focused on your pressure washing services on different homes, on different siding, on different sidewalks, removing graffiti, just showcasing how powerful you are. You feed some of the cash flow to do ads on that content you created, and next thing you know, everyone in your entire neighborhood, everyone in the city knows that you do the best pressure washing that exists. And next thing you know it, your phone is off the hook. You got customers, you got backlogs, and you're starting to invest in having more pressure washing technicians. And next thing you know it, you're covering different territories, and you're just spitting out from $80,000 of cash flow, now $100,000, then $150,000, then $200,000 of cash flow, all because you had a very, very, very strong paid and organic marketing engine, showcasing your value proposition. And at 1.2 times multiple, eat that up all day, all right? This is one of those cool things that you see all the time in like the uplift videos, Codie Sanchez videos, but this is actually proof in the pudding that these businesses are generating sufficient cash flow and it has the ability to scale with marketing, and it's not that expensive of a purchase price to dive in. Granted, it's probably a 1 or 2 person shop. You got to go do some jobs yourself, but that's the price you have to pay to unlock this long-term financial freedom if you build yourself a local and a regional pressure washing brand. So look into that. Now from Florida, we take ourselves to Texas and we are looking at a really cool landscaping business. All right, so this was pretty dope. They do landscaping and sprinkler services in Texas. And it's for sale for around $100,000. And the business does $200,000 in revenue as well as $130,000 of annual cash flow. So that is a 65% profit margin. This is the highest that it's gotten. And if you've made it this far, congrats, because now you realize that I have given you 10 incredible cash flowing businesses that have ranged from 27% margins all the way to 65% cash flow margins. This is the best of the best. Like, the heck? And for this one, they're selling for a 0.8 times multiple. Now, it's sub 1 times multiple, so likely you're going to be heavily involved in this business, or it's just like a few operational headaches with running the team or running pieces of equipment, or you might need to use some of that cash flow to reinvest in upgrading or replacing some pieces of equipment for your facility. Right? Usually when it's sub 1 times multiple, there are things that are a little bit hairy you need to step in and resolve. But the last time I checked, everywhere across the world, there is lawns and there is a need for sprinkling and irrigation services. And guess what? Grass has got to be cut and grass needs to be watered in the summertime. So who's going to do that? This business that's selling for $100,000. So we can look into what are the key operational things we need to do to scale this business, as well as why they're selling for sub 1 times multiple. But I am really geeked about this just because of the cash flow profile, right? At $130,000, you are literally recouping the entire purchase price of the business just on day one. Now, that screams a clear setup issue here, because why would they sell for less than what the annual cash flow is? That means something really within the business or within the partnership or the structure is really out of whack here. And as you can see from the listing, this says that this one must sell immediately, the deeply discounted price, and due to the owner's need to focus on another venture. Meaning that like they just can't spend time doing this. Like either legally or they're going to sacrifice the success of another business venture. So for this kind of setup, we can buy at a bargain and buy significant cash flow on day one. Use that cash flow to increase our service areas, buy more other landscaping businesses, and next thing you know, we got a landscaping and sprinkling empire. That's smart money moves, baby. So those are 10 incredible, boring, profitable, cash flowing businesses, all under $100K. But back on that Texas one, the landscaping business, this is what's really cool. So when a business like this kind of is forced to sell, whether it's partnership disputes or they want to focus on a different venture or they need to retire ASAP, there's kind of an opportunity for a buyer here. Because then if they need to sell, they're highly motivated, you can put in a structure that works for you, whether reduced purchase price or an interesting financing to allow you to put less money down to own the business. And they are more willing to say yes and accept it if they are force-motivated sellers. So for something like this, what I would do actually is I would use a tactic called buy now, pay later. Yeah, I know, that's right. Like that tactic using like Affirm and Klarna to buy TVs and mattresses and pay over time. Like, did you know you can use that exact same tactic as creative financing to buy a business? It's kind of nuts, right? So with someone that is motivated to sell a business, like this Texas landscaping and sprinkling company, I will go in and say, hey, I want to use a buy now, pay later, or in the private equity business buying world, we call it seller financing or promissory note. I want to use seller financing to acquire up to 100% or a significant part of that business. So I could potentially own this company doing $130,000 of cash flow a year with potentially putting zero money down or not as much money down to purchase that business. So if you're interested in learning exactly how to use this buy now, pay later tactic, or AKA seller financing, to buy a business with little to zero money down, check out this next video where I outline exactly everything about buy now, pay later for buying and selling a cash flowing company. And I'll catch you guys on that next one. Peace.